Sununu with us right now, the New Hampshire governor, kind enough to see us on this day. Governor, always a pleasure. These documents, it does seem out of control. Of course, the prior resident of the White House had the same deal. If you were to ever become president, I know maybe from what we're told, you're giving it a thought or two. How would you prevent something similar happening to you?
Well, first, I cleaned my garage. I don't know. Look, I think the most concerning point is that the president appears to be a disorganized slob that doesn't even know where his stuff is. I mean, you've seen the pictures of the Corvette and the boxes of trash sitting behind it. So, look, unfortunately, this is really serious stuff. And we joke about it because America has just kind of thrown up their hands on both sides and said there's no sense of accountability or transparency or public trust. So it is a symptom of, I think, a much bigger problem out of Washington. So, look, you got to stay organized. You got to treat confidential material as it needs to be treated, and both sides do. And obviously, they found files that he had as a senator and as vice president and as president. So it opens up this whole question. America's going, well, who else has these files, right? This could be a never-ending story of confidential files sitting all across the country and that's very important. So you have to get that under control. But again, it has to start from the top. So he ain't really leading by example.
The one thing I do notice, though, Governor, is that there are a lot more classified documents, a lot more documents, period. I understand for every president, it goes up by a factor of 4. In other words, 4 times as many than the prior office holders. So I guess what I would ask you, don't mind my going back to that, if you ever did become president, there's been talk about, getting very, very tough on this, policing this, whether it's the National Archives, which always seems to be the last one to know about any of this. Why can't we build a system like a library where you take something out and the National Archives is aware of it and you have to give it back?
It's actually a very easy system to create and manage. I can tell you, as governor, I've received classified information. I've received secret information. I get those files. You know what I do? I read them and I literally hand them back to the folks that gave them to me. I try not to hold on to any of that stuff, and I tell my staff to as well. We don't want to be in control of that.
Governor, a lot of them do it for memoirs purposes. They're going to write a book and all of that. I mean, that's why they do it.
They're going to write a book with secret documents, right? I mean, the insanity of that. Should we be talking about that? That everyone just wants to write a book, and they think they need secret documents to do that. So, look, you're 100% right, Neil. There's a very easy system to manage this. For whatever reason, it's never been put into place, and there's no sense of accountability. They should do the investigation and find all the files. But to your point, let's create a system and be very transparent about how those documents are controlled. It ain't hard.
Governor, I was kind of trying to get you off guard talking about a presidential run, but not everyone is, and a lot of people in your own state are urging you to do so. And I'm just wondering, you would have the benefit, being the governor of the very state that kicks off the whole primary season, New Hampshire, less than a year from now. I can't believe that. Does that tempt you, even in a field that will include the former president, maybe Nikki Haley? Certainly it sounds increasingly like Mike Pompeo, Chris Christie, a long list of other candidates.
Yeah, no, just the opposite. So look, I think it would be a tougher challenge for me, even though I'm kind of the referee in the First Nation primary state, because 2 things are going to happen. If I don't win my state, I'd be done. And no matter how much I win by, they'll say it was never enough, right? So that's why candidates are still coming to New Hampshire, as they should, whether I get in the race or not. New Hampshire is a first filter, not just for who wins, but for those kind of 3 or 4 top candidates to make their next arguments. But we're very different than every other state in terms of you got to buy off on the person first, not just the policy. And so, yeah, folks know me here to be sure, but everyone's got a chance. And if anything, folks are so engaged in politics in New Hampshire, they know it's a very different job. They know there's a whole different level of accountability there, and I have no doubt they'd hold me to the same standard as everyone else.
But they also know you were among the earliest to at least zing former President Trump. You weren't intimidated by him. You do it in a humorous fashion, all that, but your message was clear. You're not intimidated. So it didn't seem to matter, the threat that Donald Trump had, that if you run against him as a Republican, it's an act of disloyalty. To you, that does not seem to be the case, but you've extended that, it would seem, to zinging Governor Ron DeSantis. So where are you on this? These are your titans in your party, and you're going after them.
Oh, look. Yeah, no, look, I like Ron. Ron's a good governor. No, let's be very clear. But I'm just a big believer that as someone with a little bit of a national voice, we need leadership that holds both sides accountable. And this idea that one party can take higher moral ground on any significant issue or transparency, both sides are blowing it out of Washington, D.C. They really are.
What is your problem with Governor? What is your problem with Governor DeSantis? Is it the whole woke thing and using the government to force the issue? Or
no.
What?
No. Look, Ron's a good governor. Ron and I have very different styles, right? I do believe I'm from the live free or die state. I believe there is a limit to government. I don't believe in telling private businesses what to do. I do believe in individual liberties and freedoms and local control.
Disney,
even when I might disagree with that.
You were against what he did with Disney, and you would not do that yourself.
Oh, absolutely not. Look, I don't like the wokeism. We need to stand up and fight wokeism and cancel culture, but you don't penalize private businesses because they disagree with you politically, right? It's still a private business. I ran a private business. If the government ever tried to come and tell me who I could hire and fire and what political things I could push on, that just crosses a line. And my point is this: if Republicans stand up and do it on our side, you bet Democrats are going to stand up and start penalizing conservative businesses or conservative nonprofits. We can't get into that game. I get you can raise a lot of money and get a lot of headlines, but we're rewarding the wrong things. We need to be results driven and believe in those fundamentals as Republicans: individual liberty, local control, low taxes, limited government, right? And so that's what New Hampshire is all about. That's why folks are looking at New Hampshire as a great model, and I'm very proud of that, and I travel the country talking about that. But look, Ron's a very good governor. We just, I think, disagree on some of these fundamental points, and I think we can win as a party, not in the primaries, but in November of 24, because that's all that matters, by the way, with the right candidates that hold true to those values.
All right, we'll watch closely. Governor Sununu, always good seeing you. Thank you very much.
Good to see you, buddy.
All right, Chris Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire.